Knightline is brought to you by the Dever Team, your source for New Smyrna Beach real estate and everything else New Smyrna Beach. Go to www.thedeverteam.com and call UCF alumni Travis Dever for all your New Smyrna Beach needs. 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636.
Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios, and this is Knightline episode number 200 from the award-winning Knightline Sports Network. Joining me as always,
Trylko. Hello, everyone. Breaking down UCF's opening game shutout of the Rattlers. Former UCF quarterback Kyle Israel is talking to us about that. We're wondering about Hurricane Dorian's impact on Week 2 at FAU. We continue our celebration of 40 years of UCF football with Jeff Allen's conversation with Billy Giovanetti Sr. And did you know the Cows have the loudest student section in the American? Yeah, right. That in Ask Knightline. But first.
Pretty good.
That's right, Larry David. The Knights looked pretty good in a 62-0 over Florida A&M on opening night, which three quarterbacks threw for 6 touchdowns, and UCF amassed nearly 700 yards of offense while holding the Rattlers to less than 100 yards. Way less than 100 yards, I believe.
Couple less than 100 yards.
Yeah. Trace, I mean, you watched it on TV. You were traveling. What did it look like?
It was rocking. But it was a tale of two halves, really, in as much that it was a great party atmosphere, and you can talk to this more.
Oh, yeah.
But I got a sick feeling when Van Moore went down, and I had flashbacks to being in Tampa and seeing KZ go down, and it really hurt me to see Gabe Davis just so emotionally, just distraught over not knowing how his good friend Van Moore was doing it. And the news is better than we first thought, but it's tough to watch, and it sucks the energy out.
From what I understand, and I have not heard this from many sources, but I have heard it from a couple of sources, so I'll say it. I believe that he dislocated his knee, actually, like McKenzie did, not as badly though, obviously. And he tore his MCL is the last thing that I heard. So he's done for the season. Hopefully he can get that all back. I heard no nerve damage, no arterial damage, nothing like that, like McKenzie had. It was just a weird hit. It wasn't anything. I don't think that it was anything, dirty or anything like that. Even though those guys were playing a little dirty, they were going for people's knees, and there was a little scuffle at the end there of that whole situation, and those guys were just. My voice is kind of messed up because of me yelling, I think, at the players' bench, to be honest with you. I think that's where the damage came from. Travis and I were sitting there in the cabana, just...
How was that, by the way, with the expansion and all of that?
I didn't go up there. It looked nice. I just didn't... I never made it up there. I was exhausted. I'd been there since like noon that day, doing everything, trying to get ready for post-game live, which didn't happen.
Yeah, what happened with all of that?
So it was all supposed to go down on ESPN 580, and I got a call about 4 o'clock. They've decided that you're preempted for hurricane coverage. Basically, they were going to have an engineer in the studio and an engineer on site there with us, and they have to pay those guys during all this hurricane, stuff a lot more. And so us being the brand new program, I fully understand. I'm good with it, whatever. So we got basically preempted, and that won't be the case, forever. We will get it done. Hopefully next week, if we have this game in Boca, we'll get it taken care of.
Boy, hurricane season and college football season in the state of Florida, they're not a good mix.
Right. But this is a really big deal for us to get the opportunity to do this, and we're going to have more stuff on 580 as well, ESPN Orlando, thanks to Jerry Daniels. And I don't care if you don't like Jerry Daniels or not. Don't tell me about that.
Is that a thing?
Oh, yeah.
That's a thing?
It's a thing. But I don't want people coming up to me talking about that. So please don't. Anyway, I'll move on from that. Yeah, I mean, it definitely was a tale of two halves. Half the crowd left at halftime.
It's a blowout, and
yeah, but it's the season opener. Mm. It's on TV. It looked bad. I went down from the cabana to the parent section, to the tunnel, basically, because I was looking for somebody and I wanted to talk to him, and I could not believe the people that I was having to go around that were going out the gates. It was like a floodgate opened. I couldn't believe it. I'm upset. I don't think that those people should have done that. I think people should have stuck in and given our boys a little bit more support, personally. So I don't think that was a good thing to do. I'm really bummed.
It's
that
typical of a blowout, though, and on a weeknight game, people are still going to get up and go to work on a Friday. And
if you were able to be there, then you were able to stay. So I can understand in a few cases, but I was able to stay, and a bunch of other people were able to stay. You could have called in on Friday. You could have gotten the day off like I did on Friday. It was pretty easy. You had a lot of notice to do that. So, anyway, support our boys a little bit more is what I'm saying. Anyway.
694 yards of total offense. 6 touchdowns from 3 different quarterbacks.
Yeah.
And, of course, you're not even seeing the running game as you might expect it to see. I mean, look at Greg McCrae, 56 yards. That's not typical of what you're going to see from Greg McCrae. But I
was kind of bummed that Greg McCrae didn't get more carries, but they obviously wanted to use Adrian Killens, and Otis Anderson got a lot of touches in every single way.
He was all over the place, wasn't he?
He could get touches, which is great. A lot of people complained about Otis Anderson not getting as much carries and stuff last year. Well, he did in this game,
and he's still finding his way in the return game.
There were a couple issues, a couple of times, but he made
it's not as easy as people think.
No, it's not.
I spoke with him about that at media day, and he says it is a different animal. I mean, in one play the guy's running the ball, another play he's catching the ball, then they're sending him back there to return a kick, and
he's doing a lot of stuff.
I mean, that's Swiss Army knife where he can do all these different things, but you know what? It's an adjustment for him, and
right. He did pretty good though. I was not at all.
I like him, and I think he's
complaining
very talented
about anything that he did. I think he did a great job. I think Adrian Killens did a good job. I still don't like Adrian Killens going up the middle personally, but I just don't think he's the guy that you run up the middle. I still don't understand why they do that. It does not make sense to me. Maybe this is something I need to ask Jeff Lebby about one of these days.
338 rushing yards, 356 passing yards. Pretty darn balanced.
Yeah. And,
right?
I mean, it was great. The defense played well. I'm not worried nearly as much about the defensive line as I was before.
Even with the loss of Bam Moore,
Well, that's not the defensive line. I was just talking about the defensive line.
I thought you said defense.
No. The defensive line played really well, like I just said. I was really worried about that. I'm not as worried anymore. I'm more worried, honestly, about the offensive line and the way they played against a subpar opponent. So I think they have some things to work on. I do have a bunch of clips, if we want to go to that really quick. Let's hear what Josh Heupel had to say. And you just listen to the tone of his voice, and if you saw the video or you were in that press conference, after Bam Moore got hurt, this whole thing, there was silence over the stadium, and you can just tell that Josh Heupel was not in a good place for this press conference. None of the players were.
Really excited about the way we played in all 3 phases, and obviously to go back and we'll watch the film tonight and tomorrow and get a chance to meet with the players tomorrow. There'll be a lot of things that we want to correct, but I thought after 8+ months of investment, our kids came out. They played with passion, they played with great energy, played hard from snap to whistle, and competed in a really good way. So proud of what they did, and obviously the injury to Bam, extremely disappointed for him, and we'll check in on him here immediately after the game, and players and coaches all need to get around him. Not a better kid in our program. Just hit it for him.
All right. Well, the other thing that people really wanted to know about was the quarterbacks. So here's what Josh Heupel had to say on the quarterback play.
I thought all of them did a ton of positive things. I thought they managed the snap to whistle pretty well. There's a couple things that Brandon and Dylan early in the ball game would want to have back. A couple overthrows where we got wide receivers open down the middle of the field. The ball comes out of Brandon's hand at the back end the one time. We got guys open down the middle, but I thought they handled snap to whistle really well. But I thought they handled the operation of playing with tempo pretty well as well for the first time, both of those guys being out there.
And then a lot of us wonder after this what's going to happen going forward from here, because it's obvious that the quarterback competition is still a little bit open. So here's what he had to say on the quarterback competition going forward.
We'll continue to evaluate. I think I said it publicly that Dylan was going to play in the first half. We had him pinpointed no matter how things were going that he was going to play on the fourth drive in this ball game. Then we're able to give him another drive, although it was pretty quick at the end of the second quarter. I thought, for his first time out there, being a true freshman, he managed everything, handled it really well. Was a good decision maker, on some of our run pass stuff, and did a good job in the pass game. So overall, pleased with what he did.
All right, Trace, what did you think?
Well, let's talk about these quarterbacks. Well, I will tell you, I thought about you while I was watching the quarterbacks because I could hear this Dylan Gabriel talk from weeks and weeks ahead of this game. Well, that phrase, Brandon Wimbush is who we thought he was, right? I mean, let's look at the stats. He's 12 of 23, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns. He threw some nice balls, and on the ground, 8 carries, 20 yards. He could do things with his legs, and I'm not doing the math there, but that's around 50-some-odd% completion percentage, and his quarterback rating was not particularly great. Can he manage the game and get you wins? Yeah, there's probably somewhere along the line.
He threw some high, he threw some low.
Gabe Davis bailed him out on a ball or two, and
a couple other. Trey Nixon bailed him out on one.
Still a senior, right? Experienced.
Yeah.
In contrast, we like the Hawaiian pipeline, and Dylan Gabriel is the future. Okay, we don't know what it means with KZ and Daryl Mack, but there's a lot of future with that kid, and it's fun to watch him. You can see his love of the game, and he's 9 of 13, 127 yards, 3 touchdowns. We talked to Kyle Israel about this. I used the phrase, we have a quarterback controversy here, and he says that may be a bit too strong a term. I think this, weather permitting, all of that, I think you see the same basic type of game going on against FAU. Now, what does it mean with Stanford? I don't know what it means to Stanford. We all want that game to be played in Boca Raton. This is not a team, for many reasons, that needs to lose its second game and then find its next game against Stanford. There are things you want to work out, even with 694 yards of total offense. People still need reps, and all across the board. And I want to say, you can hear the emotion in Coach Heupel. No one's going to be critical if nobody gets hurt. Nobody's paying attention to the play count that Brandon Moore has been in the game.
We're going to get to that later.
Yeah, but you can hear that. He's going to be criticized, and it's a freak thing, and it's football, and you hate to see that happen, and it seems to cast a little bit of a pall on this whole game.
It did. It was huge. I walked out of the stadium with my head down. It felt like we got beat by like 40 points. That's the way I felt when I walked out of that stadium.
I remember getting lit up on Twitter at UCF_Knightline. Shameless plug for, you're only showing the Brandon Wimbush incompletions in that little time you get in practice. Yeah, well, okay.
Did you see him in this game? Yes, you saw him.
I didn't do any of that intentionally. I can only roll on what I roll
understand.
on.
I understand
he would
completely.
He would throw a short pass and it'd be like he was skipping stones.
Right.
That's not on me. It's on him. I think he is what he is. You remember we talked about this and we asked coaches about this. Can you make improvements at this point? You have a Dylan Gabriel. He's young. You can work with him on. This is Brandon Wimbush. This is what you're going to get.
I don't think Dylan Gabriel needs as much work. Number one. Yes, he's fresh. He's, a freshman. He doesn't have the experience, but he played in some big-time games down there in Hawaii. So he's played in front under the lights before. and he did very well. He did not look like he was shocked at all. He tripped over Greg McCrae. So did Brandon Wimbush. They both did.
Yeah, what's up with that?
I don't know. Maybe they're standing too close together. I feel like that will be worked out.
Yeah.
That's a little thing that can be worked out. But I was very impressed by the way that he threw the ball. He didn't throw the ball perfect either. I mean, there were a couple times where he overthrew somebody. One would have been a nice touchdown if he didn't overthrow, I think, Gabe Davis or somebody. I just feel like the ball comes out of his hand better. I feel like there's just more speed, there's more snap on the ball. I think that Brandon Wimbush throws the fastball sometimes as well, though, and the fastball, it's kind of like when we going back to Holman and Milton back in the day, and we've talked about this before. To me, it's that same kind of thing, and I think the way that this plays out in the end, it's going to be that kind of a thing, personally. I think that Dylan Gabriel's stats were more impressive than Brandon Wimbush's stats.
Right.
3 touchdowns versus 2, I believe. I watched every single throw that those guys made. I came home and watched it again so I could see it from the TV, which is a little bit better of an angle. And I just believe that Dylan Gabriel has the upper hand at this point, minus the experience. I think that's the only thing that's keeping Brandon Wimbush in this competition.
Well, he himself
is the experience.
Remember, in preseason camp, he was asked about that, and he said, "My experience gives me the edge," and that's probably a fair statement.
Yeah.
Now, that was going into Game 1. We'll see what happens going into Game 2. There's a lot of things on the minds of coaches, though.
The other thing is, that I wanted to say before we move on to something else, is that I don't mind this little quarterback competition that's going on during the game. I don't mind it. I think it's kind of cool in a way, because you never know who's coming off the sideline in certain situations, and the other team have to prepare because they're both a little bit different. We didn't get to see Dylan Gabriel run. I wanted to see him run a little bit. We got to see him run around a little bit back there, but not really take off and run. We saw Brandon Wimbush do that, and the one, towards the visitor sideline when he went down there and put a couple moves on people, Brandon Wimbush, that was a hell of a run. It was. I mean, and he can do that. We know that. I want to see Dylan Gabriel run a little bit and see what happens. I know he can run too, and he's a really good runner. He's so much like McKenzie, and I think that that's what all of us really want to see, and that's what I want to see is what we had before. And I know we're not going to get it, but I want to see as close to that as we can get, and I think that Dylan Gabriel's the guy.
No McKenzie, 694 yards of total offense, 62 points, a shutout, and
But imagine what it would have been if McKenzie was playing. I hate to do that.
I feel I'm in coach speak now. I feel like Coach Heupel's impacted my brain. You got to go 1-0 this week, where my brain's starting to go, who's best to position on Stanford? Do they want to burn Dylan's red shirt? What about Darryl Mack? That still
doesn't burn his red shirt.
No, he can still play. But, when Darryl Mack's ready to play serious football.
I don't even think he's in the equation.
Well, not
anymore.
For week 2.
No, I don't even think he's in the equation.
I could see a scenario where he works himself back into the equation, and they just don't want to burn Dylan's red shirt. That they give him the 4 games, but they don't want to burn that. They want him for the full 4 years.
It'd still be 4 years. It wouldn't be 5 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he would still get a full 4 years. He just wouldn't get a 5th year.
I got to believe, and I know Coach Heupel, Coach Lubby, they're not going to tell you this, but they don't really want to burn that red shirt. They want to preserve that. But they want to win games.
They want to win. I mean, I think
they want to win games, too.
You do whatever it takes to win, and the red shirt thing, if they burn his red shirt, it doesn't bother me. It is what it is.
If Darryl Mack doesn't get hurt.
It's about now. It's not about later.
If Mack doesn't get hurt, what does that quarterback situation look going into the season? Does he beat out Wimbush? Or on Game 1, do we see the same scenario where Mack comes in and the same,
Well, Mack would have had to have a lot, had to have gotten a lot better, I think, to win out over either one of those guys.
So let's say he doesn't beat out Brandon Wimbush, Darryl Mack. then game one is when Bush is your starter. He's bringing Mack in. He's going to put in that quadri position, and no disrespect to Quadri, by the way, who just never throws an incompletion and just throws touchdowns.
Yeah.
2 of 2, 61 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
But where they positioned him, that's maybe where you would have seen Dylan Gabriel in the second half.
I don't
possibly
think
with a healthy Darryl Mack.
I think that's where you probably would have seen Darryl Mack. To be honest,
that's interesting.
Personally,
that's interesting.
I think that's where you would have seen Darryl Mack, where we saw Quadri Jones.
And they can be focused.
Darryl Mack has an issue throwing the ball. He has issues throwing the ball as well. He can run, but he has issues holding on to the ball, and he has issues throwing the ball.
Limited sample size.
Yeah.
We just don't have a lot of his work.
It is limited.
It
is.
Coaches.
But we've seen him more than we've seen both of these guys.
Yeah.
In games.
We know more about Dylan, more about Darryl than we do about.
So
the balance for coaches is how do you go 1-0 this week? But they've also, because of that red shirt issue with Dylan and Darryl's injury, it's just a lot of scenarios that they're thinking week to week.
I'm not trying to say anything bad about Darryl Mack because I love Darryl Mack. I do. I just think that things happen for a reason and it's kind of meant to be. I mean, I hope
he's going to be healthy at some point.
I hope
soon.
that he gets back, and I hope that he starts. I hope that he takes the whole freaking thing over and runs with it. That would be awesome. But then again, he missed a lot of football. He missed a lot.
And he's going to have to work himself back into football shape. And, how do they balance the reps in game prep week where the 15 practices they get going into the season?
And then what about Quadri Jones?
Yeah.
And Pete, or not Pete DeNovo, but whoever the guy,
flashback.
Whoever the guy is, that's
Hayden
Pete
Kingston.
DeNovo right now.
Hayden
It's
Kingston.
the same thing.
You have a lot of options, but that can be challenging. That's going to be a challenging.
It will
decision for coaches, but we're a couple weeks away from having to face all
right,
of those
I got
challenges.
a lot of clips here. Let's continue on that. Is that all right? All right. Here's what Josh Heupel had to say on the O-line, the running backs, and the wide receivers. He kind of grouped this all into one.
Our guys up front did a good job of protection and run game. The 3 running backs did a phenomenal job of pressing line of scrimmage, making people miss, and obviously our guys outside made a bunch of plays.
All right, and then the thing that we all were worried about, the defensive line, that I'm not nearly as worried about. But here's what Josh Heupel had to say about the defensive line.
You look at the tackles for loss, the hits on the quarterback. I thought they played in a really good way. I know Coach Burnham, Coach Shannon will never be completely satisfied, but I thought for their first time out, a lot of young guys, some youth there, and I thought they handled everything pretty well.
All right, what did you think about that? Because we were all watching them as well.
And the statistic for the defense that just stands in my mind is that there were no turnovers by Florida A&M, snapping that 32-game streak. And I would have thought they didn't have many plays. And how about, by the way, if we're looking at free agency, can we acquire the FAMU punter? Oh, my God. What a leg on that guy.
Definitely. He was their best player by far.
He was their MVP.
Oh, yeah. No question.
I agree with consensus here that I was concerned about the D-line. A little less concerned, but I want to see real serious opponents. No disrespect to FAMU. Before I give a full
FAMU
evaluation.
guys were big. They were big. They were able to push around a little bit, but I mean that was one of the things that kept them from. I mean they didn't even have any rushing yards at halftime. They had minus rushing yards at halftime.
Yeah, and they ended up with they ended up with 4
rushing yards.
4 rushing, 92 passing for 96.
I got it right here. I just don't have it flipped to the.
Yeah, not good. By the way, play count in this one, UCF 94 plays to FAMU 61.
That's great.
94 plays.
The game was long because there was no first downs made by FAMU. That was why the game, the clock, So.
Too early for me on D-line.
We actually won time of possession, which is really odd.
That's true. Felt good about what I saw from the D-line, but too early. I want to see a markedly better opponent in Florida Atlantic than FAMU and a road game. And let's see what, if this game gets played, let's see how they perform against a better quality overall program.
All right, we talked about FAMU's punter and how good he was. Let's hear what Josh Heupel had to say our special teams.
Specialists didn't have necessarily a hot start. Obarski kicks the first one out of bounds, and I thought he came back and kicked the ball really well for most of the night. Had one more that went out of bounds. Young guys probably going to do that, trying to overpower the football a little bit on that first one. I thought he settled in. Holstein did a good job. First one's a short punt on rugby. I thought he settled back in the rest of the night. Dylan did a phenomenal job, and Alice Ward was steady at snapper too. So proud of what they did. Not perfect, but we're going to keep growing.
I'm good with that. I'm good with it. It didn't get
nerves,
didn't
young
get
guys.
us into any trouble.
Yeah.
Baronas did Baronas, whatever. I'll learn it.
You say Obarski better than you say Barnes.
Well, I don't know. It's just because it's weird. I'll get it. It's only game. This is only game one.
See, you've got some week 1 to week 2 improvements.
Exactly. So yeah, Obarski definitely has a leg and was kicking it really far. And I stayed there and watched when they came back before the second half and were kicking field goals and stuff, punting and all that practicing after the band. And Obarski really has a leg, and he was kicking field goals and stuff. And I kind of am looking forward to seeing him get to kick some field goals.
The issue there in preseason camp, from what I was told, was just trajectory and getting the ball over the line, and that they feel confident about his leg, but just some of the technique and kicking.
Well, and that's why they got him on kickoffs, because he can, do that a little bit more with that. He needs to keep those kickoffs in bounds unless they're going out the back of the end zone.
Well, that's for sure. 7 penalties for 65 yards, and as Coach mentioned, you kick the ball out of bounds. There's a penalty right there.
2 times, yeah. So that's fine. Punting, still not sure we're used to having a great punter, and we don't necessarily have a great punter right now. But I think these are things that take time as well.
Well, Coach Toth talked about that they needed to be in a real game situation. They could only simulate it so much in practice, and now they got more of that real game, and there was some nerves that shown, and they needed to get that game under their belt. By the way, 3 hours, 37 minutes.
Yeah, it was long. It's almost going to be as long as this show tonight, because this one's a long one, I think, especially if we don't get going on these clips. All right, Josh Heupel on what needs to be worked on.
Defensively, so many positives. Contested, almost every throw. I thought we changed the line of scrimmage, played on the other side of the line of scrimmage, got after the quarterback, created some negative plays, tackles for loss. I thought we tackled, for an opener fairly well in the open field. Offensively, there's going to be a ton of little things that we're going to need to work on. Just timing, wide receivers and quarterbacks. A couple times the quarterback got tripped up with the running back's pass as we're throwing some perimeter screens. And, some things got to get cleaned up there. I thought a couple of things that you can't do, just, celebration penalties, in the end zone. A couple of them didn't get called. That, those are things that you can't do. Play smart football if you're going to play championship caliber football.
Again, we had a celebration penalty twice in 2 games. The last game at the bowl game, the Fiesta Bowl, we had a celebration penalty by a defensive lineman. This time we had a celebration by a defensive lineman or a linebacker. I can't remember which one it was. It was the new guy. It was the new defensive lineman, the guy that won the Gatorade thing and announced down here at the stadium on ESPN. That guy was the guy that got called for that. So that's not a good thing, and that kind of, in a way, it kind of questions coaching to me. If they didn't know, and they were that wouldn't. Okay, I'm going to put it this way: that would have never happened, and it never happened when O'Leary was here, because they were afraid as hell to do something like that.
Typically, UCF in the O'Leary years would average less than 5 penalties a game, and were one of the least penalized. But I would say this: I brought penalties up a lot last season, and you would often say, yeah.
Well, these are different penalties, though. These celebration penalties are uncalled for. There's no reason to have those penalties. The other penalties don't bother me. These penalties bother me.
They're kids. Emotion.
Well, it's still, they know they're not supposed to do that.
I get it.
I think there should be no celebrations, personally, after any good plays. I think they should just run to the sideline. They can celebrate on the sideline. I don't think they should do any of that.
Get off my lawn.
Exactly. Exactly. Get off my field. Exactly. All right. And then we come, back to this Bam situation. And here's what Josh Heupel had to say about Bam.
I mean, there's a lot of guys that are heartbroken in there. You know, there's tears. That's one of their brothers. And I'm not just talking about the defense side of the ball. I'm talking about our entire football team. There's a lot of people that are really passionate about Bam and a lot of our players. But Bam's a special person, not just a special player. He is a special player, but he's a special person too, and just what he's come through in his life and how he's continued to grow. I'm really proud of him for that. And unfortunately, we've got another mountain to climb right now, and everybody on our football team is going to wrap their arms around him and help him through this journey.
Okay, so the Bam situation. Should the defensive players have been in there at the time that they were? This is a big discussion, and I bet that your opinion on this is different than mine.
Maybe.
What's your opinion on this?
What's your opinion?
That was why I said that.
I say all the time I worry about players getting hurt. And we talked about it last week in the preview that I was concerned about, do we need Wimbush out there in the second half and all of that? The caveat I give on this is that they said they wanted him to play a certain number of plays, and everything FAMU was doing was punting the ball. So they didn't have many plays.
Right.
So when you looked at how many plays Bam was actually involved in, it wasn't many plays, and they wanted him to get reps. And again...
And it was the entire starting defense that was out there.
They wanted them to get reps. And it gets questioned when the guy gets hurt. Guy doesn't get hurt. Nobody's in there going, why is Bam still in there? Now, people can say they're saying it now. I was thinking it. Yeah, okay. You weren't really thinking about it until Bam got...
You weren't thinking about it because it was the third freaking quarter, and the players are normally in there in the third quarter.
It's a game of football.
Yeah.
He got hurt on it's a tough play. I hate this. I hate that he was still in there up 55-0, but he hadn't played much because FAMU did not move the ball.
I got this clip, and then we'll come back and talk about this a little bit more.
There was a play count that we had talked about getting to, and obviously when that happens, hindsight's 20/20. So hate it for him, and just devastating for him. You know what I mean? Because love that kid.
All right. Well,
so is my opinion different than yours?
Yes, because I say that it was the third quarter, and it doesn't bother me because it was the third quarter.
Well,
if it was the fourth quarter, and I understand that we were up by 55 at that point, but still, you've got to get the guys the plays, and freak things happen in the first quarter, they happen in the second quarter, they happen in the third quarter, and they happen in the fourth quarter. It doesn't matter what time it is out there.
If he had gotten the number of plays that they wanted him to have and he was still out there, then I would be more critical of it.
And when Coach Heupel was asked, where was the count, he said they were very close to the end of their count.
Yeah.
It was just a freak thing. It happens. Heupel, took full responsibility for it.
He did in the postgame on TV. He immediately he owned it.
I mean, I didn't see that part, but I hear in these two clips that he's taking full responsibility for it. It happens. It's a freak thing that happens, and we have to move on. We wish the absolute best for Bam. If you know anything about the dude and you know what he's been through, they keep talking about that. If you don't know, his father was a high school football coach here in Sanford, where we are. He went to Seminole High School, where my stepdaughter goes, and his father was killed in a drug deal, basically gone bad, in Sanford. He was one of the coaches. I think I said that. I think there's been other family members involved in the same type of stuff, and the same type of stuff has happened to them as well. It's just, he's a guy, if anybody needs the NFL on this team, if anybody needs it, it's him. He's the kind of guy that needs it. And that's why this is such a big deal for him. He needs to, he needs to go other places. He needs to do other things. He can help not only himself, but his family as well. There are bad parts of Sanford, if people don't know. There are those things that go on in Sanford, even though it's Seminole County. Sometimes you don't think that there's those parts of town. There are, and he's from that part. So just like a lot of these kids from Miami, it's the same kind of thing.
He'll be back.
He will. I think he will, but it could not have happened to, it's always couldn't happen to a nicer guy.
Well, we're never going to say, that guy deserved it. We're never going to do that. So we're going to feel for it no matter which of our guys.
If he was a pompous ass and he went along out there.
If he was wearing black and gold, we'd have given him the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly, yeah. If he was wearing green and anyway. How about that game, by the way? Let's just throw that in there. I'm a huge Wisconsin fan. I was rooting so hard for Wisconsin.
It was a home game for them.
It was a home game. There was a bunch of empty. I put on Twitter last night. Wisconsin football doing good in your home game or whatever. There's a bunch of red empty seats on the top, and then a bunch of red in the bowl.
I root for every American school.
I don't.
In every week.
Yeah.
So if Temple wins in a game, good, but them, they can lose every game.
Yeah, and I think they probably will.
But I don't. But I don't want them to lose Charlie Strong.
Well, I don't want him to either.
I don't want him to get.
Yeah.
I don't want them to get rid of him in week 3 or anything. I want him to.
Maybe Florida State will hire him.
It's not about winning the games, Andrew. It's about scheduling the games.
Oh well, obviously, yeah.
When's that 2-for-1 kick in with Alabama?
Oh boy,
or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think they made a huge mistake. Personally, I love it.
They go to Georgia Tech. And Georgia Tech's got a new coach, and they're moved away from the triple option and all that they do. So that'd be interesting. See if when you lose 49-0 in your home opener, what's your improvements from week 1 to week 2? How do you measure that?
It's to put the dumpster fire out is what it is.
I'm fine with it. Absolutely every bit of it.
All right, let's continue with the clips here. We need to hear from our starting quarterback, Brandon Wimbush, after his first start.
I felt great. I was excited to finally get out there, get out of the red jersey, experience getting hit for the first time in a while. But I'm happy we came out with the win, and all my prayers out to Brandon Moore.
All right, and now what we all wanted to hear, what did Brandon Wimbush think about Dylan Gabriel?
9 of 13, 127 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think it's spectacular what he did and what Quad came in and did. So I think, those guys, like I said earlier, have the ability to come in and lead this team to victories against, great teams and whatnot. So I think DG did a heck of a job of staying poised. I think that's the biggest thing when you're a freshman is to, keep that calm. And he did a great job of doing that. All
right. So that's good. That's good that he, said that his competitors in the quarterback battle did a good job. I don't know. I mean, why didn't they have Dylan Gabriel out there? That's one question that I kind of wonder.
Freshman, maybe.
But that's never been the case before, I don't think, with Heupel. He had him
during preseason camp.
Yeah, doing press conferences then. I think a lot of people probably wanted to hear from him. I wanted to hear what he had to say.
Maybe he wants to tamp down quarterback controversy.
Yeah.
Maybe he wants to just keep it low.
Then he shouldn't be playing 2 quarterbacks in a half if he wants to do that. Because I believe, personally, Heupel stirred up this thing by playing both of them. If you want to go with that. My argument against that is that he playing him, the 4th series or something like that. I mean, and we knew that, and he said that he was going to do it. We knew that he was going to do it.
He said it because he didn't want there to be controversy when he ran out into the field. I think he tried to get ahead of that.
Yeah, and I don't know about the word controversy either, but I think that there's something. There's it's competition. It's still competition. Nobody's won the job.
Yeah,
and I don't know if
I'm using the word controversy. I don't know that anybody else is using it, but
I think it might be controversy as well, personally. We'll see.
It's conversation.
We'll see. Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what happens.
It
in
is
the
certainly
next game
competition.
If it's still a competition.
It's certainly competition.
Yeah, it's definitely still a competition. All right, and then one quote from a defensive player, because I didn't want to have 40 minutes of these clips, but obviously there's 40 minutes of these clips because we're right at 40 minutes right now. And I did want to get a little bit of defensive player in here. So here's Brendan Hayes talking about how the front seven played.
I feel like the front seven played a really good game. We got physical with those guys. We knocked them off the ball, played in the backfield, disrupted the quarterback's timing. So I feel like we did a pretty good job.
All right, so that's it for the clips.
That's all?
That's it.
That's all you got?
That's all I got.
Well, we're going to get into this more with Kyle Israel coming up. Next game is at Florida Atlantic, hurricane pending. Our buddy Jason Beatty was on the conference call with Lane Kiffin, and Coach Kiffin of the Owls says that there's no talk of moving the game. Now, the weather, and if there's destruction along the coast, and that's certainly in Boca Raton, it's you can see the water from their stadium, so they could certainly be impacted. And they certainly, both teams need to practice. So how many days can they be shuttered from practicing,
Right.
Kiffin, by the way, saying, for us, it's like we're playing another SEC or Big Ten team 2 weeks in a row. They have players like those guys. They've won as many games as anybody the last couple of years in the country. So he's certainly being complimentary. He also said, we have not discussed at all not playing Saturday. So 7 o'clock, Boca Raton on Saturday is the plan.
What happened in their game?
They lost to Ohio State.
By?
I think it was 45-21.
Oh, okay.
But Ohio State jumped out early and coasted. I didn't see any of it. But,
all right.
But the post-game live plan is a plan?
It's a plan for Boca at this point. I just need to get with those guys and work out the details. But if everything goes well here as well, we obviously could have issues in Orlando as well. So
I'm just going day by
day on this type of stuff. Yeah,
we'll post on Twitter.
Yeah,
location of where we are, or where we're set up. Same type of thing. If there's a game, there's going to be a party. You'll be able to come down, hang out, tailgate.
And there was people that came, before and had some good Oviedo Brewing beer. We had the Oktoberfest, which was really good. It was not even put out yet to the general public. We had it first. We drank tons of it. Not tons of people came out, but there was quite a few people before and quite a few people afterwards as well, even though we weren't having post-game live.
How was Smash Mouth? Did you go?
I went.
Oh, you went?
Yeah, I left before they did their number.
Did you see Nugget?
Big number. I did not see Nugget. I was actually late getting into the stadium. I did not see the kickoff. I saw the end of the first series, but I was late getting into the stadium, and maybe I'll tell you all about that later.
Gotcha. We no longer do getting to know you,
but
now you're suddenly full of getting to know you, getting to know all about you.
Now that I don't have to do it, yeah.
But what we are doing, we asked for some reaction from folks to help us celebrate 200 episodes. I want to share one at Nug Get Hyped, KNUGGETHEUPED. Congrats on 200. The show has come a long way, and it's truly always a great listen. Thanks for deepening the UCF community and allowing us such great insight into the football team we love.
Yeah, we've got some voicemails, too.
Did we get voicemails?
So do you want to play a couple of those right now?
We'll do one now, and we got plenty of breaks.
All right, let's play one here. Here we go.
Hello, fellas. This is James Reed, or Cossack Advisor. Of course I'm going to call. I've been listening since the beginning. Love it. It's a staple, but I don't do it on Monday. I actually end up listening when you drop it on Sunday night. That's just who I am. The improvements over the time, the programs, and the diversity of content, outstanding. Trace, you got that walking thing down. Keep doing it, brother. I'll talk to you. Have a great one.
All right. Yeah, that was cool.
Thank you, Cossack Advisor. One of my favorite follows on Twitter.
Yeah,
I love the guy.
Do we want to play another one?
You can.
All right. I need to explain this one a little bit. There's a little bit of a conspiracy theory on this one here.
Hey, Andrew and Trace. My name is JP Gilbert. Big fan of you guys. You guys do a tremendous job with the podcast. My comment is really in regards to a conspiracy theory that I have. I was listening to Jeff Allen on the Sons of UCF, another great program that you guys have there over on the podcast network. Now, as I'm listening to Jeff Allen, I noticed he sounds a lot like Trace Trylko. So here's my conspiracy theory. See if you can follow. Have Trace Trylko and Jeff Allen been seen at the same place at the same time? Really makes you think. Go Knights. Charge on. Thanks for taking my call, guys. Take care. Bye.
All right.
What is that about?
You guys do kind of sound
think so.
a little bit alike. You do. They're a little bit.
I have never even met Jeff.
Well, that's the problem.
This is
because I've seen Jeff, but I've never seen you at the same place. So, I mean, I know that it's two different people, but I've never seen you at the same place. So, could Jeff be Trace Trylko in disguise?
This is crazy talk.
Could Trace Trylko be Jeff in disguise? I don't know.
All right. Thank you, JP Gilbert,
having all
who's also
kinds
a
of
great
fun.
follow on Twitter. I like these calls. I like when people call.
Yeah.
This is good
I wish
stuff.
the quality was a little bit better. But
You remember Brian W. Peterson, at Brian W. Peterson from last week,
Right.
Who wrote to us, great show this week, number 199. Thoroughly enjoyed it as always. Thanks again for the shout out. Hashtag I'm legit. Remember
that's the guy, yeah.
Yeah, so hashtag I'm legit. So we'll play more of these. I've got some more that people have sent
Now,
in.
I did have a guy send me a message saying that I was too negative and I needed to be a lot more positive.
Are we playing that?
No, because
Oh,
it
come
was
on
an
now.
email.
Oh.
But I guess I could have read it, but he probably wouldn't be too happy. He was supposed to come by the tailgate and have a beer with me to settle our differences, but he never came by. He just said I'm too negative for some reason. I don't think I'm too negative. Maybe it was maybe he's in the Brandon Wimbush camp, and I'm not.
Well,
so
you
much,
have
so.
drawn some flack for that.
That's fine.
So, yes.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, you've drawn some flack for
it's
that.
my show. I can give my opinion.
Well, we are chatting with former UCF quarterback Kyle Israel about this FAMU game and looking ahead to the FAU game with him next.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else, New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Knightline and Knightline Postgame Live. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
Welcome to Inside the Huddle with former UCF quarterback Kyle Israel, brought to you by the Little Greek Fresh Grill. Fresh, flavorful, fabulous. Waterford Lakes, 855 North Althea Trail, Orlando.
One game in the books. Let's talk about it with former UCF quarterback Kyle Israel. Kyle, observations on the first win.
Well, I thought that the team came out energized. I obviously thought that the fan base was phenomenal with the crowd, especially early on in the game. And I think offensively, we were able to move the football. I still think a lot of improvement when I went back and watched the game. I think we can improve quite a bit along the offensive line. On first and second down, some FAMU's defensive line was in the backfield. So we were able to get some big chunk runs from our running back core and obviously hit some big passes. But I think that our offensive line, what I take away is that we got to play better there to beat a team like Stanford in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. What did you think about the quarterback situation? Because that's, I think, what we were all watching.
Well, I thought that, Brandon, played the way like we expected he would. He was going to be able to do things with his legs. He was able to convert first downs on fourth down and, make some hay that way. He hit some deep passes. He missed some deep passes and had a ball drop out of his hand in the pocket one time when he had a guy deep on a post. So I thought that in some drives, Brandon was the guy that could, help us, be 12-0. And then at the same token, it'd be hard to win with some of the scenarios. Got away with an interception. So a little bit up and down, but 50% kind of what everybody thought he may be. And then I think Dylan Gabriel obviously provided just a different spark. Ball comes out of his hand just extremely well and looks to be very under control, understand where he wants to go with the football based on one-on-one coverage. And, it's hard to argue that Dylan may be the guy that can push us forward, but I don't know that it may be a bit too early to make that decision. I think that you still play both guys moving forward, at least this week.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to ask you. Going into week 2, you're Coach Heupel. Don't you just do the same thing, trot them out in the same fashion?
Yeah, I think it worked once for you. No reason to change anything this week. I think that Coach Heupel, give him credit. He did a really good job of putting Dylan in situations to be successful, plus yardage situations where they didn't have to drive the length of the field. So a nice scenario for Dylan to step into the game as a true freshman without a doubt, and he was able to capitalize and get some touchdowns there. So I would do it again this week and give Brandon another opportunity to go in there and show what he's capable of, because I think there are things that he does Dylan Gabriel definitely can't do yet, and a lot of that in the running game. So I still think he played both of them.
Well, speaking of the running game, what did you think about that? The running backs that we saw pretty much everybody that we have.
Obviously, we have a lot of depth there, and I think you saw in spurts what guys are very good at. Vontavious Thompson gets in there, makes a big cutback, huge run. I was hoping that we'd find a way to get him the ball more. Got Adrian the ball. Obviously, when he was able to get the ball sideline to sideline, he was able to get the corner, have a big run there. But what I did notice is we weren't really, in my opinion, able to establish the inside running game like we should be able to against a team like FAMU. And that's a bit concerning for me, to be honest with you. They did have time in the pocket and pass protection, but the running game on the inside, I think we definitely have to improve and clean up. We were able to mask some of the mistakes there, or just getting outworked in those positions because we were able to hit big plays and score a lot of points. But if we want to be the team we expect to be, that's got to improve.
But isn't that what you might expect to see in week one in what essentially was a bit of a preseason game for UCF?
No, not really. If I would expect against a team that across the board is below you from a competitive standpoint, from an athlete perspective, I would expect our offensive line to be able to dominate the line of scrimmage and set a tone there. And I just don't think that we did that. I mean, I would expect more from Brandon Wimbush on missing some deep throws in week one, but from an offensive line perspective, I would expect them to go out and try to dominate a team like FAMU at the line of scrimmage, and I'm not sure we did exactly that.
Yeah, I agree with you. What about what you saw from the defense? We were all worried about the defensive line.
Well, we're obviously really deep there. I don't know that we have any superstars that we see yet, but there's quite a rotation of youth and young guys who are able to get in there and play. And I'm still learning everybody's name along the defensive front, but I saw athleticism, I saw some size, and I saw guys that were in the right places at the right time. I think that the defensive line is going to be just fine, and they'll get a better test this week.
And for all of us, when we see Bam Moore go down, we have flashbacks to KZ going down, and you could tell the emotion on the team as well as the fan base. That's a difficult moment to watch in a game that is, not even competitive.
No, it is. And it's a tough position for Coach Heupel and the staff. They obviously had a play count, and we're trying to stick to that script, and I understand that. As a fan, you're going to look up at the scoreboard and see a score of 55-0 and wonder why it was still in the game. And that's probably reasonable as well. Hindsight's 20/20, like Coach said, and so it is just tough to see and difficult to see, obviously, because Bam's a critical part of that defensive secondary. We do have some guys that hopefully can step up right away. But you feel for Bam without a doubt. He's a great personality, great character on this team, and hopefully McKenzie can get in his ear and tell him that it's going to be all right, and he can follow what McKenzie's done for his recovery process.
And on the special teams, just a lot of nerves, it seemed like, across the board for everyone, but there are some promising players in that unit.
We have some legs there. Obviously, I really like Otis in the return game. I think he's going to make some big plays for us this year. He's just such a dynamic player. And then in the kicking game, we're going to I think, improve week by week. We were able to make some field goals, and I think our punting game was okay, the few punts that we had. So, again, I think we're going to have to monitor that week to week and get a better feeling for it as we go forward. We certainly don't quite yet have the personality in the special teams unit that we've had for the last couple of years.
So do we have on our hands a quarterback controversy going into week 2, or just more of the same of what Coach Heupel had been saying throughout camp about guys battling for jobs, and Brandon Wimbush should most likely be the first one to run out on the field in Boca Raton?
Yeah, controversy is a little bit harsh. I think you still got a competition without a doubt. And then I think that some of it is going to be a feeling or a vibe that Coach Heupel gets, the offensive staff gets. Maybe not something that you're going to see statistically from the quarterbacks, but maybe the way the team's responding to one of them, or how you feel like, they're picking up a particular game plan. You got to remember, Brandon Wimbush is going to be as prepared as anybody, extremely smart, very well-versed, was a true leader for Notre Dame. So he's going to be ready to play and give you some comfort as a coaching staff and saying, this guy's going to know how to go out there and execute the game plan. There's something to be said for that. I think if Dylan can come along and show that he's capable of doing it to that level, and then go out and perform as well as we saw him in week 1, then that's when you see Dylan potentially taking over the job. But right now, you got to feel really comfortable with Brandon and keep putting him in positions to make big plays.
I remember going down to Miami and looking ahead and getting beat by FIU, so you can take no team lightly. But I heard you say in a couple weeks against Stanford, it seems like you feel FAU on the road, pretty sure thing, and you're already thinking ahead to what Stanford and the big boys on the line might mean against UCF.
No, I think that a team like Stanford is really going to be able to expose an offensive line if they're not able to establish a line of scrimmage. I think Stanford has the defensive front that can expose UCF pretty badly there. I don't know that FAU has that. I'm not saying we should look past them at all. Lane's going to put together a good game plan. I know Kevin's going to have that team, Kevin Smith, that is, have that team ready to play us coming into their house. This is going to be one of the biggest games of the season for FAU, in-state rival coming to their place, second week of the season after they just, played at Ohio State. This is a huge game for them, and it's a huge game for us. It certainly is. So I'm not looking past it whatsoever. I think we need to be ready to go, and they're going to give us their best shot. And I do remember what it felt like to drive down to FIU, lose that game and say, forget it, and drive straight back home. That was not fun. So don't want to know one of those.
Well, we're still not sure if we're even going to do this FAU game as far as the weather goes and all that stuff. I would be really surprised if we get through all this and still have a football game on Saturday, personally. So
I think that the bye weeks, you guys probably can correct me if I'm wrong, I think that our bye weeks line up later in the season.
I think so, yeah.
And so that may be an opportunity to play this game. I guess it's going to depend on how this storm, whether or not it moves west anymore. But we've got to be able to practice, and FAU's got to be able to practice, and you want to keep people safe. So all of a sudden in the middle of the week, if you're not able to get practices in, it starts to become kind of a question in my mind. I have no idea, and there's people that will make those decisions just a guess.
Yeah, and it's probably not really smart to even do it if you can't practice and you can't be prepared. So on both sides.
Absolutely. I think, safety of everybody involved, is paramount, especially if there's a potential way to play later on in the season. I think this is a little bit more of a easier situation to deal with, considering Danny White's brother is the athletic director.
Right.
As someone who played the game, do you support you make big improvements from week 1 to week 2, or is that just a thing we like to say on shows like this?
I think you can make, absolutely. I think you can make big improvements from week 1 to week 2. I think that, a lot of times you can definitely build off success. You can definitely build off a level of comfort. I promise you, Dylan Gabriel, even if he wasn't statistically better, he's going to be naturally more comfortable in week 2, and that's the same for Brandon Wimbush. So I really think, personally, although, I could make an argument that Dylan should be the quarterback, I think that we're going to see some big improvement by Brandon Wimbush going into week 2 against FAU. I know there's some passes he'd like to have back. I'd be interested to see if he can make those adjustments, and I think that he potentially will.
Well, I would think as well that he might do that just because of he probably feels the footsteps of Dylan Gabriel right behind him as well. I think his demeanor after the game kind of showed it to me that he wasn't as confident as he was going into it. Definitely. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
That was pretty good build-up, though.
Yeah. I thought you were going to say something. But...
All right, I can say something to that.
Okay.
And we can edit that. I think that it's natural. I've been in a position where I've been the starter. I can relate even back to 2007 where after we played Texas, Coach O'Leary told me that we were going to give Michael Greco some reps in the second quarter versus Memphis the following week. When Michael Greco ran on the field, even though we were up 21-0 and the crowd cheered, I heard it as much as anybody else in the stadium. And I guarantee you that Brandon felt that and heard that. I don't believe it affected him, but he noticed it when Dylan ran out there. So I think when a guy goes out there as efficient as Dylan was and throws some touchdowns and gets excited and, people kind of anticipate him being the future no matter what, I think it's natural that Brandon's going to feel that.
Yeah. I know that you're busy with your hurricane preparation and all kinds of other stuff. Tell us what's going on at the Little Greek.
So we are getting ready next Saturday or Sunday. We'll be opening our location in Soto, so down on Orange and Pine Lock in the Lucky's Market Shopping Center. And after that, we'll be opening the Winter Park location. But, yeah, I am getting ready. I just found out that some of our locations are going to be forced to close by landlords Monday at 5 p.m. and for sure on Tuesday. So just making sure our staff's safe and have somewhere to go. And we'll get back open as soon as the storm passes.
All right, man. Well, hopefully we get through all this okay, remain safe, and hopefully we get to have this game next week on Saturday, and hopefully we'll get to do post-game live.
I hope so. I'm looking forward to it. I think that regardless, it's going to be an exciting environment down there in Boca if we can get this game in, and I'm confident that our team will be ready to go.
All righty, thank you, Kyle. Knights in the pros, not many after this week.
A few were.
A few were cut. Yeah, Rashard Causey cut again, this time in Denver. The Packers trade Justin McCray to Cleveland. It's almost like being cut. And then the Bears cut his brother Jordan. Wyatt Miller was cut by the Jets, then picked up by Cincinnati and placed on the Bengals practice squad. Miami cuts Jemias Pittman, which I'm shocked about personally. Pittsburgh cuts Matt Wright, which I'm shocked about. And Cincinnati cuts Jordan Franks. Unbelievable. That's horrible for our guys there.
I got 3 letters for you. XFL.
Yeah, that's true too, but I'm really surprised. I thought Jemias Pittman was going to work out there, and I really thought that Matt Wright was doing okay.
They're heavily invested in Boswell.
I understand, but there's other kickers out there that are going to lose their job probably during the year. So Matt Wright, hang on there, and then Wyatt Miller as well. To be honest with you, I thought that he was doing good there in the Jets. I guess that he's picked up on the practice squad of the Bengals, so that's good for him, I guess. And
he's landed somewhere for the moment. You know who was from articles coming out of Seattle was on the bubble with Shaquem.
They would never do that. I don't think that I looked on the list. That was one of the first lists that I looked at.
But the articles were saying that, it was close.
I don't think that they, just for promotional reasons, PR reasons, and then I think that there would have been a bit of an issue with Shaquille if that would have happened.
Well, they can't keep him. I mean, if he's not performing to where they want him to be,
I still think that there would have. I think there would have been an issue. I really think there would have been an issue. And I'm sure that they want to.
He had some good special teams play in their last exhibition.
Well, they need to give him more of a chance then if they want him to perform, because we know that he can perform. So I didn't think that would happen. So I'm glad that it didn't happen.
Yeah, well, I'm glad he's still
there. For sure, yeah.
All right, another happy 200th episode. Our buddy Jim Hadaway, at J.A. Hadaway. From the first time I listened to the show, I was hooked. Not only do you guys know your stuff, well, some think we don't.
Obviously.
But your passion for UCF is palpable. Here's to 200 more. You can do it.
Wow. I don't know about 200. I don't know about 200 more.
Oh, my goodness.
All right, here, let's hear another one of these clips here while we're doing this.
Hey, Andrew, Trace, it's Night Bengal calling you from sunny Orlando, at least for the time being. On this 200th anniversary episode, I just wanted to wish you guys congratulations and thank you for all the time and effort that's been put into it. The listeners don't know about the show prep, the hard work, the money, and your personal time in editing. Is more than just the couple of hours that you hear, hopefully an hour or so, on the radio. So having been there from the beginning and listening to every episode, I just wanted to say thank you for giving all of us an outlet and a source of information for our beloved Knights, and thank you personally for providing me with an opportunity of being part of it. So thank you both. Go Knights. Charge on.
Awesome.
Well, that was very nice.
Very cool. I don't know about 200th anniversary, though. He said 200th anniversary. That means we've been doing this for 200 years.
Well, that 2015 season felt, I got to tell you.
It did seem like 200
years. It took time
years.
off my life.
Yeah, it was like 100 years.
Well, and Night Bengals joined us in live locations up in Maryland, and
he's always
in the studio.
Always at my tailgate and our tailgate, I should say. Always, gave us a little bit of bucks to get to Maryland and all kinds of stuff. So he's a good dude, and thank you very much. We've definitely met a bunch of cool people, bunch of Knight fans, and for the most part, we like them.
And some people I feel like I've met because I talked to them on social media and whatever.
So much,
One of them, at me and Angus, mentioned how he appreciated that the show was family friendly and that he could listen to it with his kids. So I said, "What's your kids' names?" And he replied, and a little shout out, "Hello, Marie and Mason."
Hi, Marie and Mason.
Thank you so much for listening. He goes, they're both big UCF fans already. His daughter has already mastered Go Knights, charge on, and his hashtag is Raise 'em Right.
Awesome.
So thank you, Marie and Mason, for listening.
And I've met him.
Oh, have you?
Yeah, he's a cool dude.
Oh,
I've definitely met him, yeah.
Well, one of the first inductees in the UCF Athletics Hall of Fame, we are catching up with Billy Giovannetti Sr. on this 40th anniversary of UCF football. That when Knightline number 200 continues.
Oviedo Brewing Company is the hottest microbrewery in Central Florida. Located 7 miles from UCF at the Oviedo Mall, this 8,800 square foot brewery just opened its doors 6 months ago and has already crafted 13 unique beer flavors and counting in their tap room. The tap room contains different styles of beverages, including ciders, wines, and craft sodas. Not only do they have amazing beers, they also have a full kitchen with gourmet pizzas, wings, and tacos. Oviedo Brewing has activities for each day of the week, such as Taco Tuesdays, Trivia Wednesdays, Pizza and Pint on Thursdays, plus live music on Friday and Saturday evening. But the best is Sunday brunch with unlimited beer mimosas. Need a spot for game day? Oviedo Brewing is just the place with their large TVs to catch all the live games. You will also find Oviedo Brewing at UCF tailgating sampling beers. And OBC support for the Knights doesn't stop there. If you need a spot for UCF away games, come to Oviedo Brewing Company, where the Knightline Sports Crew will be broadcasting live after the game. You can get all the details on their Instagram or Facebook page. Follow them at Oviedo Brewing CO. Download the Untapped app, and you can find out what beers are on tap. The food menu is also available on their website, oviedobrewingco.com.
You've heard us talk about the great food at our good friend Kyle Israel's restaurant, The Little Greek Fresh Grill. The Little Greek now has franchises available. Please call 407-697-2272. That's 407-697-2272 to see what The Little Greek can do for you. Also, check out The Little Greek's newest location at 6536 Old Brick Road in Windermere, Florida. The Little Greek Fresh Grill. Fresh, flavorful, fabulous.
All right, I don't sound anything like Jeff, by the way. Knightline's celebration of the 40th anniversary of UCF football continues now with Jeff Allen's conversation with Billy Giovannetti Sr., All-American at UCF, whose two sons went on to play for the Knights. Here's Jeff.
Billy, thank you for taking time to join us to talk about the very first ever UCF football team in 1979. And everybody we've had on the show, we asked, what was your path to being on UCF's first football team?
Good Lord, Jeff. Well, thanks for having me first and foremost. My path to UCF, of course, right out of high school, I wasn't recruited much. Had a couple of offers from D3 schools, D2 schools, Carson Newman, and then a military institute in Alabama, too, as well. noticed that UCF had just started a program. My parents said, Billy, why don't you stay at home, give it a shot out at UCF? So I was one of the first, or one of many, first-time walk-ons with the start of the program when Coach Jonas and the gang started the program out there. Pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So talk about that very first time you guys took the field against St. Leo. What was that like?
It was interesting. It was interesting, Jeff. First of all, we pull up to St. Leo. And back in high school, I didn't even know if St. Leo had a team, but we pulled up and looked at the field and thought, are you serious? Half of it was a baseball field, half of it was sand spurs, and the other half was grass. We get out there and we warm up, and then the sky let loose. Incredible. We had to go back in the locker room or into the hallways of the school dorm, I think it was, or one of the classroom buildings, and sit there for almost an hour and a half. It was delayed for startup. Once we did get started, it was pretty neat, a pretty nice experience. Reminded me of just a step above high school, a step or two above high school, but the kids were much bigger and a little bit better talent.
And you started at linebacker at the ripe young age of 17.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Graduated high school at 17 and started out there at 17 years old. I think I was the youngest kid on the team. What was interesting the first day of tryouts out there, we had about 150 guys, and of course I'm 17 years old with the deer in the headlight look, and there's guys out there that look like grown men. I think one of the guys out there was 40 years old. It was a mixed bag of talent out there, that's for sure.
And you would start all 37 games in your 4 years at UCF. You were a tackling machine. You held the career tackles mark for a very long time, still second place all time. What made you so effective at getting to the ball carriers or whoever had the football?
Jeff, I wasn't real big, 5'11", 200. I think I started out there freshman year 210. My senior year, I was like 225, 230. I can run. I can move laterally, and I had a good nose for the ball. A good nose for the ball in today's world, that would be a very, very undersized middle linebacker, more of a defensive back, even small for a defensive back these days. I just had a knack for finding the football. Loved the sport, played ever since I was a kid, from Pop Warner all the way through the ranks, and just really liked tackling, liked running around the field and acting like I was nuts.
And you were tied for the school record for tackles in a game with 23. Does that game relive in your mind a lot?
I believe it was either Morehouse or Bethune-Cookman. I do remember it. It was more of a running team. Back in the day, they ran the ball more than they passed it, unlike today's football. But yes, I do. I do remember hitting the fullback in an isolation many, many times, and then peeling him away and hitting the running back. Just within my groove that game, and recorded a lot of tackles. Very fortunate. But, it's a team event. Couldn't have done that without my defensive line. We had some big defensive linemen for that day and time. We had some big defensive linemen in front of me. Mike Summerfield, Eddie Gander, Joe Workman, Kenny Sparks. All those guys were big, and I sat back there and just picked the running back off time after time.
And in 2000, you and Sean Beckton were the first football players inducted into the UCF Athletics Hall of Fame. That had to be such a tremendous honor for you.
Yes, sir, it was. Still to this day, when they say Hall of Fame, I just can't acknowledge it's me. But yes, they did. They did elect me in 2000. Me and Beck, Coach Beck, and what an honor! What an honor! I don't know if it's deserved. But what an honor. I'm very, very proud of it. And I've got 4 boys, 2 of which played out there too as well. My wife cheered out there, and so we've got black and gold running through our veins, and to have, to be listed in the Hall of Fame with all those other inductees, it's quite an honor for me.
Yeah, talk about your sons playing football at UCF. That had to be a thrill as well, knowing what you were there at the beginning to see where they fit in down the road.
Yeah, kind of in the same mold I was. Tios don't grow past 5'11", 6 foot. So undersized kids, huge hearts. Nicholas could run. He was a defensive back. He only played a year out there. Little Billy, who was my fullback and played linebacker in high school. They all went to Bishop Moore. Little Billy walked on out there. George gave him a preferred walk on, and he he proved himself from freshman all the way through, earned a scholarship, started fullback for 4 years out there, about my size. When I played, 5'11", 230, but he played on the other side of the ball. So he and I, we always kid each other. If we ever went back at it during the day, I'd whip him to the other way.
That's a great story. So when you were playing in your playing days, I've asked everybody this question as well. Did you envision what it would become, what it is today?
You know, Jeff, we always talked about it. We always talked about, Orlando, the population. We admired the big schools, the Florida States, the Miamis, and we always had aspirations that this thing would turn into a monster. We never knew the timeline, considering the amount of high school talent that you can pull from in this area, and then just the size of the university. When I went out there in 1979-82, there was only 8,000 students out there. So, but collectively as a group, all those guys in the 79 team knew that this thing would grow into one of the big boys one of those days.
Yeah, and now as you watch the team play today, and now it's a national brand and a team that's on the periphery of the college football playoff, that has got to be such great pride as a former player.
Oh, you can't imagine. You can't imagine, especially the last 2 years, and the brand itself, as you referenced, the marketing exposure we got, the talent we're bringing in, the coaching we're bringing in, the excitement of the team and the university, and not only in football but in basketball and academics. We're just tickled pink. The whole family is, and all my buddies who played out there are just elated to see the growth of the university. Incredible.
Yeah, it definitely is. And what do you see happening this season?
I'm thinking 9-3, 10-2. I'd love to see another undefeated season, but we got Stanford coming in. We got Pitt out there, Cincinnati, Houston's going to be good. Memphis is always good to do as well. I'm thinking a couple losses.
Well, hopefully we'll be wrong on that, and we'll get another perfect season. But nonetheless, it was such a thrill, Billy, to be able to talk to you about the very first UCF football team in 1979 and the great contributions you made to that team.
Well, thank you, sir. It's real proud to be a part of it. We've got a little different breed out there in that 79 team, but we're all grinning ear to ear on the development of the program and what's happened with the total university. It's amazing. Glad to be a part of it.
Coming up on this week's AAC Report, only on the Knightline Sports Network, we will look back at all the Week 1 action involving the conference teams. We'll hear from the coaches on those games and their looks ahead to Week number 2, where we'll also go in depth on the Cincinnati-Ohio State game. The Bearcats off an impressive win over UCLA. Now take their talents to the Horseshoe in Columbus to take on the Buckeyes. I'm Jeff Allen. Make sure you join us. Download the AAC Report. Listen to it while you wait out the storm. And everybody stay safe out there.
Now, I will say this. We have a passion for saying only on the Knightline Sports Network.
Yeah.
The two of us. Yeah. Two different people.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
JP.
That's true.
Two different people.
That is true.
All right, you know what's back? Knightline Planner, because we've got games going on for other sports. Men's golf continues in Harris, Michigan for the Island Resort Collegiate Invitational on the 2nd. Men's soccer opens with Penn State Friday, the home opener, against Penn State. My sister went to Penn State, so I'll have to jaw a little bit about that. Friday, September 6th, first kick, 7 o'clock, weather pending at the UCF Soccer and Track Complex. Volleyball opens at home with South Carolina in the UCF Challenge on Friday the 6th at 7:30 in the venue. Saturday against Albany at 7 and Sunday at 4 against Kansas. And women's golf opens in the Cougar Classic in Charleston, South Carolina on the 8th.
I am really excited about them playing Kansas. I saw the big Jayhawk on. They put the volleyball schedule on the scoreboard the other night, and I was the only person standing up screaming when I saw that Jayhawk.
Gotcha.
It was awesome.
Gotcha. All right, a couple more happy 200ths from @blackgold_Ed. Congrats, 200 and 0, he says. Go 1-0 every week. We've gone 200. Oh, I like that. And Oliver at OC Knight says, congratulations on 200 episodes. I love the show. Andrew and Trace make my Monday morning drive to work so much more enjoyable. I look forward to listening to another 200 episodes. How long is his drive to work?
Well, you never know.
You got more voicemails?
I do. I got 2 more. We're going to do them both here. The first one is Andrew from Oviedo. We hear from him a lot on Knightline Postgame Live.
Hi, guys. This is Andrew from Oviedo. Just wanted to call and congratulate you on your 200th episode. I've been listening to you guys since, around the 2015 season, and I definitely appreciate all the work you guys have put in between the interviews, the analysis, the competition with players and coaches. And, it's definitely satisfies my fix, I guess, for UCF football and sports. I've always appreciated you guys' effort, your enthusiasm. I definitely can't wait to hear the next episode. Take care. Bye.
Very cool.
Oh, that was nice.
Thank you, Andrew.
Boy, he joined in 2015.
Yeah, but he's pretty much, when I started doing Postgame Live, he was definitely there. He's called on pretty much every single one of them, and I really appreciate that. And then this next one is Libby.
Who?
Libby. Our beloved Libby.
Queen.
The Queen of Knightline.
Hi, Trace. Hi, Andrew. This is Twitter Libby. I just wanted to congratulate you both on the 200th episode of Knightline. I know we like to go back and forth on Twitter and have fun, but in all seriousness, thank you for keeping us connected and in the know. Go Knights and Charge on.
All right. Well, that was nice.
She holds grudges, though.
She does.
Well, she brings things up that we tried to repair, and,
Yeah.
No, we appreciate
all
Libby
the
and
time.
her family and her kids. Her kids are sick of us, though, from what she writes on Twitter.
Twitter Libby. Twitter Libby is her name
She
now,
subjects her kids to us.
She's a superstar on Twitter because we talked to her. So.
We launched her. We launched her brand.
Career. She would be nothing without us. Nothing.
So don't cross us, Libby. No.
You would be nothing. Oh, boy.
Oh, my, that's too much. That's too much. All right. Is this the most talented UCF football offensive unit we have ever had? That is one of the questions in the overflowing Ask Knightline inbox when Knightline number 200 returns.
Unbelievable.
Hey, Night Nation. It's Adam from the Sons of UCF. Be sure to check out our show every Wednesday only on the Knightline Sports Network. Now, back to 2 guys who probably won't be Cow of the Week nominees, Andrew and Trace.
Ask a Knightline is brought to you by Chad Barr Law. Chad is a UCF alumnus and diehard Knights fan. Chad Barr Law handles auto accident, slip and fall, and personal injury cases. Call Chad today at 407-599-9036 for a free consultation. That's 407-599-9036. Armor up and call Chad Barr Law today.
Time again for Ask Knightline, Andrew Phegley's favorite segment, where we answer your questions that you post to us on our Facebook page or via Twitter at #AskKnightline. And who was first in the inbox this week? Our friend at Manny Amoris. He asks the tough questions. By the way, he throws in 2. I think now he's gotten his own brand where he needs to ask more than one question each time.
That's good.
Should QB depth be regrouped as follows? QB1, Dylan Gabriel. QB2, Quadri Jones. QB3, Brandon Wimbush.
Oh.
What's your opinion there, Manny?
No. Yeah. Well, no. I think QB1 should be Dylan Gabriel for sure. I think probably Brandon Wimbush should be number 2, though, and we'll keep Quadri at 3.
I'm going to say let's do the same thing we did last week until I see otherwise.
Let's do a poll, I guess, with that, huh?
Yeah, well, we could do that. And then he was asking where KZ was during the game. I believe it was a medical appointment. Is that right?
Oh, I don't know.
I thought that was what I'd heard.
Oh, was he not at the game
No.
at all, or was he in the booth or something?
No.
I know I didn't see him in the booth. Okay, well.
No, I believe that's what it was.
Yeah, maybe he had to go out of town for a medical thing or something. I didn't really realize that he wasn't there at all. That's kind of a bummer.
Got another on Twitter from UCF, Selena, our friend Selena. She says, I'm late to leave a message, but just know that I love you guys. Feels like we're all friends, even though we have never met. And I feel like I've met her, too.
I know. I can't believe, because I'm friends with her on Facebook as well, and I can't believe that we haven't met. In fact, I think she sits in the same section as I do even, and has never come and said hi. So we need to meet up, Selena. Next tailgate or whatever, you need to come say hi.
She asks, by the way, she mentions Manny in here because she asked 2 questions.
Oh,
but
good.
we'll get to that second one. She goes, what do you see that made you breathe a sigh of relief? For me, it was special teams.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the sigh of relief was the defensive line playing pretty dang good. I wouldn't say they played a perfect game because I think, against better competition, it'll be a little bit different, but that was my sigh of relief.
I don't have one yet.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not going to answer that one yet. She's got a second question, which she puts #Manny rule.
Okay.
I have never noticed quarterback tripping over running backs' feet before. Is that common? It happened to both Brandon Wimbush and Dylan Gabriel. I just don't feel like I had seen that before.
That was kind of odd. I've seen it happen before. I've never seen it with this team, and I think that has to be something with lining up too close to the guy or whatever. And that I think that's just 2 brand new quarterbacks that haven't run in this system and people having first game jitters. I think I would say it's probably not Greg McCrae's fault. That is probably the quarterback's fault for being in a spot that they shouldn't have been in.
At Breeze running D1, a little concerned with Obarski's inconsistent kickoffs. I know he's a freshman. Do you get Barnes to handle kickoff duties if Obarski doesn't clean up his kicks after FAU? Obarski has a big leg. They like him on the kickoffs.
Yeah, he's at the kickoff spot.
Let's not jump
reason.
ahead to he won't have a good game in week 2. Let's see what he does. But I think for him, there's a lot of nerves.
Yeah.
You mentioned earlier about Dylan's played in big games. That's a big crowd.
Yeah.
He hadn't played in front of that many people, and probably the same for Mr. Obarski.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
give him some first
Absolutely.
half jitters. And our friend Ben Stout at Big Social 32. Do you think, even given that we don't have our superstar quarterback, that this is the most talented UCF football offensive unit we have ever had, top to bottom?
That, I'm not sure about that. Last year, I don't know. I mean, definitely not because of McKenzie not being here.
Easier to answer if McKenzie's here.
Yeah. I would say it's too early to really know that yet, to see what our quarterback situation is actually going to wind up being.
Yeah.
But pretty close.
All right. At JMX 2323, can UCF win any of their big games, Stanford, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, with a 50% passer? Do they burn Dylan's redshirt year or use his 4 games and hope Mac gets back? I guess that's your big question.
Well,
it's your big question.
I don't know if we can do it with a 50% passer.
But I think that's what you're going to have.
That 50% passer has a runner, is a runner as well. So maybe that helps. But I still say, and y'all can tell me if I'm wrong later on, but I think that you're going to see Dylan Gabriel take over that position at some point during the season. I think the red shirt is going to get burned, and Dylan Gabriel will be our quarterback at some point during the season for some reason, whether it's injury or whatever. I just have a feeling.
Can you win every game and go to a New Year's Day bowl with Dylan Gabriel as your true freshman quarterback?
I think by the end of the season, yes. By the way that he played in this game as the first time and not having really jitters, you didn't see him have too much jitter out there.
Remember, we got asked a week or 2 ago if Brandon Wimbush hadn't just beaten him out.
Yeah.
It was a competition.
There's a reason why they both played the other night as well.
So continuing these themes here at No Thanks Dave, can Wimbush throw better balls to stay the starter and let Dylan have a redshirt season?
I mean,
I kind of think he is what he is.
Yeah.
Good and otherwise.
We always say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I don't know how his accuracy gets better if his accuracy wasn't better and it doesn't look like it's better now. He looks like the same guy. Maybe he's holding the football a little bit differently. They pointed that out on the broadcast.
Yeah, how about that? By the way, he was at vaunted Notre Dame and didn't know how to hold a football.
Yeah,
according to the CBS Sports Network.
Yeah, and that may have been something that they noticed right away, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know what he has to do to get better, but I don't know.
More timing,
with
and chemistry with the receivers, and when we're talking about
it can happen during the season. That can happen. It can, I guess, but I still say we're going to see Dylan Gabriel.
At Real Paul Bouvier, thoughts on UCF's front seven? Hard to tell against FAMU, but the way they penetrated, swarmed the ball and tackled showed some promise. If anything, it showed that that's how we want to play. Are we good enough against competition is the lingering question.
Well, we'll see, because that wasn't the greatest competition that we were playing against. We'll see this week if we play this FAU game, because that's a little bit better competition.
They're a better team.
Yeah.
They're a 1A program,
Yeah.
Conference USA.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah, definitely better competition. So we'll see.
Well, let's see. At Brando Nitro, Otis Anderson didn't look great when he lined up at halfback, but was phenomenal from the slot. His 2 punt fumbles were also concerning, but we can see how explosive he can be when he catches it. Do you think he continues to play as much as he did will he continue to play as much the rest of the season? He's very talented.
I think they're going to try to get him the ball any way that they can get him the ball. And Heupel has said it over and over again that that's what they're going to do, and I think that you're going to see him more and more. They're going to try to use him in any way that they possibly can. I thought I heard from someplace that they actually had a number set of the times that they wanted to give him the ball. And they literally had a list of stuff that he could do or whatever, and they were checking it off as they went.
I mean, it's a credit to him that they see him in so many different roles,
Yeah.
and that they're putting him in a game in so many different places.
Like
they want to utilize
They had a
him.
snap count for him particularly, so they wanted to see him, and he did. He played great at the slot. I don't know did he fumble the ball twice on punt returns? He dropped it and picked it up.
Yeah, but we didn't lose a fumble.
But didn't lose one. So,
no,
yeah.
didn't lose a fumble.
It's fine if he doesn't lose it. If he has to drop it and pick it up or whatever, that's hard to do.
It is
the
hard.
lights and everything else. I mean, go out there and try to do that.
And he said that he has struggled with that.
In fact, you see what they do at the stadium. If you're there, they punt balls out with the jugs machine and try to have somebody from the crowd, a student, come out there and catch them.
Yeah,
they're not even close.
No. Brando Nitro asking a second question, because now Manny and Morris has just opened up the floodgates with this. It seemed like Gabriel outplayed Wimbush. Do you think he starts next week? If he does, do you think Wimbush runs the wild night? I continue to say I think it's going to be the same scenario with FAU. I'm not going to jump ahead to Stanford, but I don't see, even if Dillon emerges as starter, I still see them using, and I think this wild night concept, you still use Brandon Wimbush.
Yeah.
Can they go 2 quarterbacks down
they
the line?
can.
We haven't really talked about...
They did. I mean...
We haven't really talked about what that would mean. Just keep doing this week in and week out.
I said I like it.
Yeah.
I like it because you throw people off. You run one of them out there, and then the defense starts freaking out. Because that really throws a thing into it, especially if they know one of them is a better runner than the other and one of them is a better passer than the other, or whatever. So I still think that you see Brandon Wimbush this week as the starter. I don't know about the week after that. You never know. Yeah, and I really don't mind them doing the dual quarterback thing. I'm good with it.
Well, and you talk a lot about how you are not surprised that Coach Heupel wants to keep people guessing. If you're FAU now, scouting, you're seeing 2 completely different types of players.
Absolutely.
And you mentioned it. We didn't see Dillon.
Twice the prep on quarterbacks. You have to prepare for 2 different guys.
We didn't see Dillon run. And Coach Heupel said that he has wheels and can run. So,
we saw him run in the spring game, and he looked a lot like McKenzie running out there. It was the same kind of running.
At the Pewter Night, dude, how good is Gabe Davis?
Gabe Davis is awesome.
Yeah, Gabe is really good.
We are very lucky to have Gabe Davis.
We're talking about Brandon Wimbush. Yeah, Gabe helped out Brandon Wimbush.
Yeah,
a little bit.
He said it, and I almost pulled that clip because he actually somebody asked him, "What's it like to have a guy like Gabe Davis as one of your receivers?" And he's like, "It's awesome because he can go up and get balls that maybe I overthrow or whatever." He literally said that. So
at Golden Knight _2, who's always good with asking us questions, and we appreciate that. Seeing that we will only be able to hold on to Gabe Davis this season, we don't know that for sure.
Yeah,
I think he's right though. Do you think he'll be a higher draft pick than Traquan? That's too soon. Too soon. And then you got 40 times in the combine.
He's a bigger guy than Traquan, I can tell you that. So
I think too soon.
Yeah, it's very soon to do that.
At Zombie X Knight. Some new names I recognize from Twitter, but new into the inbox. What happened to Marlin? Are we waiting to use him for Stanford and beyond, or is there just too much offensive weapons to feed?
He was out there.
Yeah, he
ran back punts and kickoffs there or punts for a while. Kickoffs maybe too.
But I'm going to read two things into that question. That last point, are there just too many offensive weapons to feed? Yes.
Yeah.
And you're going to see a guy like Jacob Harris get a touchdown, but maybe he will not be as prominent in another game, and somebody else will step up.
Right.
And the other thing, well, we're not going to show everything against FAMU.
I think Marlin even ran the ball one time or something. He was out there.
We don't have to show everything against FAMU.
I mean, I don't have stats for him.
Let's see.
I know he was out there.
Yeah, he was out there. Yeah, he had 3 catches for 34 yards.
Yeah.
But there's playbook that was held back.
Oh yeah. There's no reason to use the whole.
By the way, they hope to get up early and often on FAU, so they don't have to use much of that playbook and surprise Stanford with some things too.
Yeah.
At Lonely B UCF, is Quadri Jones our best quarterback or greatest quarterback ever? Well, perfect.
I don't. Yeah,
perfect.
He is perfect.
He's perfect.
Yeah, well, you can give him that.
He's making the most of his opportunities.
Absolutely. He was a walk-on and got a scholarship and everything else.
And I don't think they're playing lip service to his role during preseason camp. He's pushing everybody to.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. No, is he the greatest quarterback ever?
He's perfect.
It's true.
Our friend at WPRL Brock 4, this was a late one, not on your list. If you went to West Central Florida, would you transfer to UCF? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. And you don't even have to play football. If you're just going over there now for an education, you just ought to come over to UCF now.
Yep.
And we end with Jay Tizzle 521. My friend is a Wisconsin fan who was at the Cows game. What was the final in that game? It was 49-0. That was our worst loss ever. I love it. Do you know their fans, the Cows fans, they have fans. They announced 46,000, by the way. How many of those do you think wore green and puke? Not that many.
9,000.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Did you know that the Cows have the loudest student section in the AAC? That's apparently what they announce in the Bucs Stadium.
That's lying. Absolutely 110% lying. No way.
That's what they announce in the Bucs Stadium.
They're lying. The whole program is a fraud.
Did you hear their new fight song?
No.
Yo ho ho, Pirate's Life for me.
Oh boy!
Everybody, thank you. Lots of great questions. Keep them coming. I think, by the way, that the questions are pretty good on the pulse of the team week to week.
Yeah, absolutely.
The questions that come in, and I talked to some people during the week online. Whatever the big top, they zero in on it pretty good.
I am so glad that we started this segment. It's literally one of my favorites. It's always entertaining for me, at least. I don't know if y'all are entertained by it, but I'm entertained by it. Your questions are always entertaining. Thank you. And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports. Volleyball rallied down 2-0 to beat Ole Miss 3-2 on Sunday at the Rebel Invitational in Oxford, Mississippi. The Knights beat Iowa State to open the season before falling to Rice on Saturday. UCF is 2-1.
By the way, that's pretty big. You beat Ole Miss in their building at their invitational.
It's awesome.
It couldn't have gone over well with Rebels fans. By the way, the Rebels lost to Memphis in football.
Yeah, it's true.
So good for them. Number 15 men's soccer. While we're recording, they're playing their second game of the season. Their first game, they have the hardest opening schedule of any team in the country. They played number 4 Wake Forest the other night. They lost 2-1. And now, Sunday, they're playing at number 6 North Carolina. They trailed 1-0 at the half, and they've now got 2 second-half goals and lead 2-1 at number 6 North Carolina. Cal Jennings with a goal to give them the second goal on the lead. So this is a pretty talented men's soccer program, and that would be a huge, huge road win over number 6 North Carolina if they can just close it out.
Absolutely. All right, women's soccer, back-to-back double overtime draws. Sunday, 2-2 at George Mason. Midweek, UCF and Ohio State ended with a 1-1 draw in double overtime. UCF is now 0-1-2.
You know, if you're looking for reps, you're talking about reps and playing time. You've got double overtime, back-to-back double overtime matches. That's a lot of given playing time to people. Cross country finishes second at the FAU Invitational.
All right, and finally, welcome to the newest UCF men's basketball player, transfer forward Shane Mobley from VCU. The Cocoa Beach native must sit out the 2019-2020 season and has 2 years of eligibility from VCU. That's cool.
Yeah. So this is a big week. Watching the weather again, and you hate to lose a game, but of course, football is secondary to all of the destruction that lies in the path of what is just a massive storm. I mean, if you see this thing, it takes up just so much space, so much red. The definition on this storm is, Category 5. It was up to 185 miles per hour.
Saying one of the strongest storms on record. That's a lot. So everybody hang in there. Yeah. And if, a football game sometimes is not important. So we'll see you on the other side of this big storm. I'm Andrew Phegley.
I'm Trace Trylko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
UCF, charge on to the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold charge right through the line. Victory is our cry. BSCTO, tonight our nights will shine.